Welcome to my channel. Join me and let's go back in time together. The sun rises over the Nile. Its golden light pours across the river, gilding the temples, the palaces, and the endless fields of reeds. The air carries the scent of lotus and the sound of life. Merchants calling across the harbors, fishermen casting their nets, priests chanting in ancient stone halls. And somewhere within the marble walls of Alexandria, a young girl walks among the scrolls of the greatest library in the world. Her name is Cleopatra. History will remember her as the last queen of Egypt, a woman of beauty and scandal. But her true legacy is far greater. She was a ruler, a strategist, a survivor in a world where empires collided. Cleopatra was born into the Ptolemaic dynasty, a Greek family that had ruled Egypt since the days of Alexander the Great. Her bloodline was not purely Egyptian, but she was unlike the kings who came before her. She did not stand apart from her people. She learned their language, their gods, their culture. She called herself the daughter of Isis, binding herself to Egypt's ancient faith. To her people, she was not a foreign queen. She was their pharaoh. But her throne was never secure. She inherited a kingdom that was fragile, caught between ambition and ruin. The Ptolemaic family was poisoned by betrayal. Brothers plotted against sisters. Fathers turned against sons. The palace echoed with whispers of assassination. At just 18, Cleopatra rose to the throne alongside her younger brother, Ptolemy III. In name, they were co-rulers. In truth, they were rivals. Cleopatra was clever, charismatic, and bold. Her brother was a boy, guided by ambitious courtiers who wanted her gone. Within a year, she was forced into exile. She fled into the deserts of Syria, her crown slipping from her head, her throne stolen. But Cleopatra was not finished. She waited and she watched. Far to the west, Rome was rising. Its generals and senators played games of war and politics that shook the world. Among them was Julius Caesar, the most powerful man of his age. He marched into Egypt in pursuit of his enemies, and Cleopatra saw her chance. The story is legend. Cleopatra smuggled herself into Caesar's presence, wrapped in a rug or perhaps a linen sack, carried past guards under the cover of night. When the fabric was unrolled, she stood before him, young, intelligent, and determined. Caesar saw not just a queen, but a partner, a woman who could secure Egypt and in return strengthen his own power. Together, they struck an alliance. Cleopatra returned to Alexandria at Caesar's side. The palace erupted in war. Her brother's forces clashed with hers in the streets and harbors. Roman fire lit the sky, and the Library of Alexandria, that treasure of human knowledge, burned in the chaos. But when the smoke cleared, Cleopatra stood victorious. Her brother was dead, drowned in the Nile. She was queen once more, not as a puppet, but as Pharaoh. Her bond with Caesar grew into something more than politics. She bore him a son, Caesarion, whom she named the rightful heir of both Egypt and Rome. For a brief moment, she seemed untouchable. She sailed the Nile with Caesar, ruling as Isis and Osiris reborn, the gods made flesh. But Rome was not kind to ambition. Senators feared Caesar's power, and in the Ides of March, daggers ended his life. Cleopatra fled back to Egypt with her child. Her hopes of ruling Rome alongside him turned to ashes. Yet fate was not finished with her. From the chaos of Rome's civil wars emerged another leader, Mark Antony, Caesar's loyal general. When he summoned Cleopatra to explain her loyalty, she answered not with words, but with spectacle. She sailed into Tarsus upon a golden barge, its sails of purple silk, its oars of silver, its deck perfumed with incense. Cleopatra appeared as Aphrodite herself, radiant and divine. Antony was captivated. Their alliance burned with both politics and passion. Together, they ruled the East as if they were gods of old. She gave him children. He gave her armies. Their union threatened Octavian. Caesar's heir, who feared their combined power. Rome began to whisper. Cleopatra had bewitched Antony. She was the serpent of the Nile, the temptress queen who sought to steal Rome itself. The stage was set for the final act. At Actium, their fleets clashed with Octavian's. The sea thundered with war, but the battle turned against them. Cleopatra fled with her ships, and Antony followed, leaving their armies to crumble. From that moment, their fate was sealed. Back in Alexandria, the lovers made their last stand. Surrounded by Octavian's legions, their empire collapsing, they chose death over chains. Antony fell on his sword. Cleopatra, the last queen of Egypt, prepared for her own end. The tale is famous. She clasped an asp to her breast, the serpent whose venom carried her to eternity. Whether this is truth or legend, no one can say. But what mattered was the image. Cleopatra, regal and unbroken, choosing her death rather than surrender to Rome. With her, the line of pharaohs ended. Egypt became a province of the Roman Empire. Caesarion was hunted down and killed. Yet Cleopatra's name endured. To Romans, she was a villain, a seductress who dared to defy their power. To her people, she was the last pharaoh, the living goddess who stood against the tide of history. Centuries have passed, but her image has never faded. She is remembered not only for her beauty, but for her mind, her courage, her ability to rule in a world where women were not meant to hold thrones. She played the game of empires, and though she lost, she left a story that has never died. Cleopatra was more than a queen. She was Egypt's last beacon of independence, a woman who refused to be forgotten. And even now, 2,000 years later, her shadow still falls across the Nile. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing because I would love to have you here with me on this journey through time. It is my mission to bring history to life in a way that is engaging and entertaining, but also accessible and educational. So if that's something you're into, I'm sure we're going to have a lot of fun together. Hit that subscribe button and join our growing community of history enthusiasts. You'll get to watch new videos as they're released and be part of the conversation. Also, we have a second channel where we explore even more historical tales. It's linked below, too. Thank you again for joining me today, and until next time, keep learning.